If you're looking to rent a camper van in the Kansas City area, keep on watching. Hey, and welcome to Fountain City. This is Jalen. Today I'm sitting down with a really good friend of mine named Spencer Martin, and he runs Van Life KC, which is a place locally here in Kansas City where you can rent a camper van or a trailer. So keep on watching to see how the business started, and if you're interested, I included contact information of how to get a hold of Spencer and how to rent his stuff. Hey, welcome to the Fountain City podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm with my good friend and fellow church member, Spencer Martin. Spencer, how you doing today?
I'm rocking and rolling. It's I got a day off of work for President's Day, so I'm enjoying myself.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down with me. Spencer is the owner of Van Life KC, right? Is that that's what your company?
Yeah, Van Life KC. Yeah, my wife and I own Van Life KC, and we rent out camper vans and trailers in the KC metro area to people who want to choose their own adventure, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How'd you get the company started? Like, what was the original genesis of the company, of the idea? Like, can you talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So my wife actually grew up around, they had an old VW van that they did as a family. So she has lots of really fond memories of traveling around in a van as a kid and, going all over the U.S. with her family. So she always has those memories. My mom, however, her idea of camping would be staying in a motel instead of a hotel. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have a whole lot of memories of that because that wasn't her style at all.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the outdoors, and I got a lot into camping when I was in the Peace Corps. Mm-hmm. And so Sarah and I, that's one of the things that kind of connected us when we met, was camping, the outdoors, traveling, a lot of stuff. And so we were just kind of talking about camper vans and like, wow, I'm a teacher, you're a nurse. Those things are $70,000, $100,000. They're just stupid expensive, right? We're never going to buy one. People use those things 3 times a year.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's like having a second home or whatever. Usually, right. For people in the income bracket we're in, it doesn't make sense. And I said, forget it. Let's just make a business out of it. I bet I can do it. And there was a couple of software companies who had been working on kind of like Airbnbs for camper vans and trailers and RVs and stuff. And so I used that as platforms to get started, and we bought a van from a great local company here in town called Van Do It. They're out in Blue Springs,
okay.
And they convert Ford Transit vans, and they're one of the best manufacturers in the market. And we bought that, and then we converted a Honda Element, and then the rest is history, and we've been growing since.
Okay, and so you started with that van. How many vans do you have now?
We have, it's always hard to do the math. We own like 4 Van Do It vans. We have a Honda Element, a smaller Ford. We have 4 different small trailers, like 2-person trailers. 2 of the trailers come from another awesome local company in Bonner Springs called Campanaw. And they hand make their trailers and amazing customer service, just like Van Do It. And so 4 trailers, and I'm really excited. This week, I think we're gonna go pick up a 1969 Ford Econoline. So old school, really old school van that we're gonna be renting out too. So, and then we have a couple of vans as well that we don't own, that we consign with other people for some other people who want to rent out but don't want to do all the branding and stuff. So we had a couple vans. So we're something like 10 vans and trailers plus on the platform, and it's going in and out, but it's around 10.
Yeah. So I would imagine that you get the van, do you have to retrofit it with your own like accoutrements so that people renting it out has, or is it just basically kind of a plain van?
Yeah, no. So they are fitted out. I don't do any of the work usually. So Campanaw, who builds the trailers, right? They have the trailers. Excuse me. They're 2 small trailers. They're small trailers that have like a queen size bed in them and a little bit of room to move around. But they're ultralight trailers, so they're under 2,000 pounds, and those are ready to go, right? So we wash the sheets and clean it in between rentals, but those are trailers that are ready to go, built by the company. Van Do It vans are the same way. They take a Ford Transit chassis, a passenger chassis that has windows all around it, and then they put in metal metal inserts and beds and electrical and batteries and running water and TV and solar and fans and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so then we prep the vans. And so the Vanduit vans and the Camp and All trailers are kind of designed to be slept in and used as camper vans and trailers. So then we add our own touches, our own colors and stuff like that. But they come from Vanduit and Camp and All kind of ready to use and rent out.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
So how do you find most of your clients? Are they just kind of referrals? Or do you do a lot of advertising around KC?
A lot of it has been just kind of social media, word of mouth. We were one of the first to market. We were actually the first to market for van rentals. There's a couple RV rentals. That's a different crowd for us. Like RVs are a lot bigger. I have found the clientele for RVs are a little bit less granola, right? People who rent out camper vans are kind of my kind of people. They're granola, chill, down to earth. And so we were the first to market with renting out camper vans. And so that's one of the reasons why people have come to us to add some vans on the market. So a lot of it's been just social media. I haven't spent much money, if any, on advertising. And so a lot of it's just through the website and word of mouth. We're starting to have, we've been around 3 years now. We have some return customers, stuff like that.
Yeah. And most people, we were talking a little bit before your podcast, are most of your clients you find taking them just around Kansas City? Are they taking them across the country, or is it basically kind of a split?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I actually expected a lot of people were going to be like, hey, I'm flying into Kansas City and I want a camper van.
Yeah.
But almost everyone who rents from us is local.
Okay.
There's exceptions. There's a big bike race coming up in June, right? We're in February, and there's one weekend in June, literally every single vehicle is rented out in June because it's a big bike race called Unbound Gravel. Stuff like that. There's people come in from Germany and stuff and rent our vans. But most of the vehicles, trailers, and vans that have been rented are people in Kansas City wanting to get out. So they go to Colorado, they go to Arkansas. Those are the two most visited. And I always tell people Arkansas is way underrated. People need to go check out Arkansas more. No one thinks Colorado's underrated, right? But my van, I have several vans that have been Yellowstone multiple times. I've never been. It's really high on my list, but Yellowstone, California, Canada. So they've been all over. So, but there's also people who take it for weekend trips and go down. That's usually like an Arkansas trip or even camping in Lawrence or something like that. So they go all over, but it's usually people. Oh, and we rented a couple times this season as well for tailgating for the Chiefs game.
Oh, nice.
So if it's too cold, all of our Vanduit vans have heaters inside them that don't run off of the actual car.
Yeah.
And so they're really cool little heaters. And so if it's too cold, we have people who rent them to go tailgating.
Yeah. So when you rent them out, are you just kind of asking, hey, can you give us a quick itinerary of your trip? Is that kind of how you know where people are taking them?
Yeah. So in the checkout process, it kind of says, where are you going? We need to be aware of it because they're expensive vehicles. So we like to know where they're going so we can also prep for it. If you're going to Colorado in the winter, we need to figure out chains if we're doing something like that, whatever. So that's all part of the checkout process. We generally know and have a lot of conversations. We try to provide a pretty custom experience too.
Yeah.
Where we're just having conversations saying, what do you need? How do you want the setup? How many seats do you wear? How many pillows do you need? Stuff like that. So
yeah. Where do you see the future of your company specifically going?
I've been talking with some different people about expanding into different markets and stuff like that. In Texas, where I have some friends and family, some of the stuff in the area. So expansion's part of it, like coming into the brand and doing some stuff and trying to support, because we've been doing it for 3 years now. So there's a lot of mistakes we made and mistakes we almost made that could have been costly that we can kind of share experience. And then other than that, a lot of it's just kind of refreshing, getting new vans. I think we're pretty okay with kind of the number of vehicles we have. And so a lot of it's just kind of consistently getting them rent out in our busy season. And then also figuring out how to market to people that they're really great vehicles in the winter. Oh, you got some. Yeah. Marley, get down.
We're good.
Marley, get down. And so we pretty much die as a business. We're completely dead from November to end of February.
Okay.
But which is good for us as a family, because we take it out for 2 weeks every, on our Christmas vacation.
Yep.
On the time we go somewhere big. We alternate beach mountain. This year we went to Florida. But I think a lot of people just don't think outdoors right now. But they're really, really great vehicles even in the cold because of the heaters that they have. We've slept. We took it 2 years ago to Colorado and we're sleeping right by the slopes. in 5-degree weather, and I was sleeping in my boxers.
Wow.
And so really, really pleasant. So a bit like that's one of the areas that I really want to kind of highlight to people. They're great winter vehicles in town and getting out of town, and then just kind of steady building relationships, doing some local stuff like that.
Yeah. What's the shelf life of a van? Like how long until it needs to be replaced? Is it just depending on how it's used?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't turned any over yet, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm thinking probably 2 or 3 seasons is kind of ideal, because then maybe I can still sell it with some meat on the bones after I've got some money. But I'm not entirely sure. I haven't figured out the timing yet, or
Sure.
how to move them, or how to sell the high mileage vans, because they're not like just a normal vehicle. They've had a lot of work gone into them to convert them and upfit them. So
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure.
To make them extremely specialized. Yeah. Because I would imagine that it's the specializations would change probably how the vans, the capabilities of the vans and everything like that too, because
Yeah.
a lot of added weight, a lot of added.
No, actually, Van Duit has done a great job of actually keeping the weight almost exactly the same as the manufactured weight.
Oh, that's
so yeah,
yeah.
I talked to the CEO about that and was like, how much weight did y'all add? He's like, we're actually pretty close.
Huh.
And so, which is really impressive, because they're adding battery systems, they're adding aluminum track in there.
Yeah.
But they're taking out seats, they're taking out some lining. You know, they're doing some stuff that seems to keep the weight really close to the manufacturer weight. So, which also means that, you know, if you're going to tow a trailer, that's the other thing. Like, our vans sleep 4 people pretty comfortably, and we have a rooftop tent on one and stuff like that. But we also have the little small ultralight trailers
That you tow
that you
behind.
can tow behind the
Yeah.
van and just add on. You're like, oh, because we can seat up to 8, and so but there's no way you would comfortably seat 8. So
Yeah.
let's say you want to take 6 people. We have someone who just called who wants to take 6 people to California.
Yeah.
Like, you can fit 6 people in the van and
to
2 in the
sleep
rooftop
then.
tent, but you're
Yeah.
not going to be comfortable. No one's going to enjoy it. And so they're actually thinking about doing a trailer and a van so they can seat 6 people, have 2 people jump out in the trailer, 2 people up in the rooftop tent, 2 people in the bed, and then they can sleep 6 really easily.
Okay. And so the trailer, is it like the collapsible one that kind of collapses for driving, and then, or is it just basically like one of those tow-along trailers that's a complete camper?
We have one trailer that's our cheapest trailers. I call it a pop drop or a tear pop. It's like a teardrop and a pop-up camper, and that's a 2-person, and that's our cheapest trailer. So that rents out a lot because it's pretty cheap. But the Campanaws are more like a teardrop. They're a unique shape. They're not quite exactly a teardrop, and so that doesn't collapse. It just has doors and rigid sides and rigid roof and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in terms of when you were starting the business, let's go back to that, and you know, you were kind of thinking of like the business plan. You know, what are your hopes in terms of just like in terms of your personal mission? Because
Yep.
I'm sure there are other people renting out vans,
Yep.
right? What separates Van Life KC from just like the other van
Yep.
rentals? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really like. I am a really just massive fan of local business. I've started a few little small businesses here and there, just kind of focusing on local business. You know, big box retailers, whatever, they're fine. They have their purpose. But if I can avoid using Walmart and Amazon and whatever, and kind of focus on the local boutiques and those things, then I'm going to, right? We focus, you know, just random stuff like local coffee, local groceries, local veggies, whatever. And I think that there's a lot of stuff here. Different. I've been working with different companies for some local collaborations around food, around alcohol, around coffee and stuff like that. So kind of being in the community for the community is a big part, and trying to make some connections. We're wanting to do some you've heard of Tiny Desk concerts, like with NPR. So NPR does these Tiny Desk concerts where you have like a big band get around a tiny desk and do a concert. That's really
Okay.
cool. I want to do a tiny van concert.
Okay.
And so do have some different things and featuring some local businesses. So working with and featuring local businesses is one. Also a really custom experience with a lot of options for people that's tailored to meet their needs. And then we also do stuff like helping with trip planning. If someone's renting a van, you're like, well, we don't know where to stay. So just kind of helping you say, okay, if you have a camper van, here are your options. Do you want electricity? Do you want to go off grid? Do you want to boondock? You know, stuff like that.
So it's almost like a concierge service.
Yeah, little I call it like bespoke concierge, like local van rental outdoor company, whatever. So Yeah.
In terms of the customization that they can get in a trip, what's that like? Is it just that they can have different, outfitting different types of vans, or
Sure.
is it just like the van centric, or you can even customize the van even further for that particular client?
So the one of the cool things about Van Do It vans specifically are the modularity of them. So we can take seats in, we can put seats out, we can fold up the beds, you can turn it into a desk, you can turn it into a couch and stuff like that. So we can kind of we walk people through on how to modify the vehicles to meet their needs. So that's a big part of it. They can do it on their trip. We can set it up for them. The other thing is like options. So there's a lot of people that have a ton of gear, right? They have it, they don't need to rent anything. So we offer like little small add-ons, like if you don't have camping plates and forks and a hot plate and stuff, we have a camping gear box that you can rent if you want all that stuff. But then there's some people who just take it and they're maybe sleeping in it one night, going to a hotel or something, so they don't need the camping gear. So a lot of it is just, what do you need? We have a bike rack we offer if someone wants to take it. If they're going on a bike trip, like Arkansas is a massive biking town, right? So, or biking state. So like you go down to Bentonville, then we have a bike rack that you can throw on the back of the van. Or if you have a really expensive bike, you can we have some bike fork mounts that you can put them on. So a lot of the stuff is, if you need it, hopefully we try to provide it for you. And so a lot of just custom things. We have extra water if you're going to be boondocking, extra ground solar panel if you're going to be out of electricity for a while, stuff like that.
Yeah. How hard is it to drive a van for people who might be worried about that? Because I do kind of, I've driven big vehicles across the country because of moving and all that kind of stuff. But maybe for somebody who's listening or somebody who's watching, thinking, hey, we're not going to get an RV because I don't want to drive that. I would imagine that a van would be much easier to drive, like, as compared to like a regular vehicle, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something that surprises a lot of people. So my wife just generally hates driving as a whole. I do most of the driving in our family. But when she's driving the van, she's like, I really don't mind driving this. She's high up. It doesn't feel like a box truck. Like it doesn't feel, and it certainly doesn't feel like an RV. It drives really well, but you're also high up so you can see everything. It drives really well. I've really been impressed with how the vans drive, for sure. And even when you're towing like the small 1,000, 2,000 pound trailer, it barely even feels like you're towing anything too. So it's
they're
really
pretty powerful.
simple. Yeah.
And are they fairly fuel efficient?
Yeah, I mean, they're a big van.
I mean,
it's
for a big big vehicle.
I drive the vans like I drive my Prius, which is really light-footed because I like using as much electrical on my Prius because, I'm both stingy and trying to be environmentally conscious, but mainly stingy.
Yeah.
And I, don't want to use gas. So I drive it super light-footed, and I get like 16 to 18 miles per gallon.
Oh, that's not bad for a big vehicle at all, especially if you're comparing it to like an RV or something.
Exactly. Yeah, RV gets something like 10 or less. So
yeah. So how can people find you if they're interested in renting a van, if they're interested in saying, hey, I've heard enough, I would like to rent a van from you guys? Yeah,
easiest way is the website because you can book directly there. We have auto book on most of our vehicles, so if you know a trip that you're doing, it's a lot like Airbnb if anyone's done it. And we try to price pretty similar, probably a little bit cheaper to a car rental and an Airbnb. So I think some people are like, oh, I expect $50 a day. They're not quite that cheap, but we're trying to be competitive with Airbnb and a car rental and a little bit cheaper than that. But vanlifekc.com is a website, and then we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at vanlifekc.
Okay. And how far out should they be booking? Like, say it's February now, right?
Yep.
It's President's Day. Say somebody wants to be taking a trip in the summer, right? Like June or something like that. How far out should they be booking?
It depends on the weekend. If you're wanting the weekend of June 2nd, which is the Unbound, you're probably out of luck. We may have one van that's available. So if there's some kind of big holiday weekend, now's the time. So right around now is when I start getting inquiries. We have enough vehicles that a lot of times there might be something, but if you're looking for a long trip, like 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks is kind of our average trip. So if you're looking for something that's more than just like a long weekend or something, the sooner the better. Because they can fill up really fast. 4th of July is always completely booked up, right? And they book up soon. So it just depends. If you know your dates, I would say sooner rather than later. But also don't think everything's going to be booked up just because it's
Yeah.
2 weeks beforehand.
So check it out because you can
Yeah.
find the availability
Yeah.
on the website. And
Yeah, and if you go to the rent a van or trailer section, it shows you which vans are available for the date range. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it,
Absolutely.
and I really hope that this is more awareness for your business, and it really boosts it. So.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
of course.